We are celebrating 100 years of Lindenhurst at the Lindenhurst Memorial Library, 1923 to 2023. Lindenhurst Library has been a staple in Lindenhurst for many years, and this is the site of our next podcast with Jamie Lee Ryan, photographer and wanderer. So get yourself ready, and I'll see you inside. This is my comfort pose. Jamie Lynn Ryan, in the flesh, in Lindenhurst Public Library. Thanks a lot for doing this, by the way.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
100%. So, you take pictures.
I
You're a
do.
photographer.
Not professionally, but yes.
Not professionally. Well, you have, what is that blog? Snapshots and silhouettes,
Yeah.
right? And I know you also write for something, don't you?
At this point, just for myself, just kind of freelance when I'm
Freelance writing?
inspired. Yeah. So it's a
Okay.
collection of writing and photography.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. Well, we're going to get an interesting perspective from a photographer's point of view in finding fantasy in our fifth episode of the podcast. So, uh, what is fantasy to you? I always start out with that question.
Um, I would say to me, it's just like an escape from reality, just kind of crafting your own little world, whether it's, just to find Zen somewhere or
Is there a
whatever.
type of fantasy you enjoy or anything make believe?
Um, I would say just like out in nature, particularly, like that's where I find peace and just kind of exploring, and that's been the inspiration for most of my photography too. So just different settings and environments like that.
I think that's why I asked you to do this. This was one of my questions. Is it possible to capture fantasy through a camera lens?
I think so. Um, yeah, I mean, whether you're capturing what's right in front of you or you're manipulating it to create whatever effect, if you have a particular artistic vision of something. So I think that's really what I try to do. Sometimes there's an intent with something that I want to capture, and sometimes I'm just literally wandering around and whatever happens to strike me, and I'll be with someone and they're like, "What are you taking a photo of? Like, what do you even see there?" And it's like I don't know. I just was inspired by a particular angle, and I'm on the ground, shooting from a crazy angle, and just kind of manipulate it with filters and things like that, and just kind of create your own landscapes.
Create your own landscapes with photography because many of us don't see the world through a lens. Not everyone has that kind of talent. People see a beach and they want to go there to have a nice time, but you see things a little differently in a way because you see something that you can capture in a snapshot, and that becomes something else. Like instead of just being part of nature, now you've captured that area and you have highlighted it. You've made it more significant in a way.
I try to, yeah. I mean, I've always said like I don't really have professional training when it comes to photography, and I've always been told well there's that end of it, just the technical component of working with like fancy equipment, and then just having like an eye for it. And I mean, I don't see myself that way, but that's what I've been told. Like you just have an eye, you just see things in a different way, and you capture things. Like I've been to this particular place a million times, I wouldn't have seen it, but then I saw your photo, and it kind of opened my eyes to a new perspective. So I guess that's what I unknowingly do. Even just going back to the same places repeatedly, I'm always trying to find like a new angle or something different season, whatever it is, just to keep it original.
Yeah, that's excellent. There are some places where, let's say you're on Instagram or something, and you see this awesome picture of this place, and you really want to go to that place to see that, just like the picture has. And you go there, and it sucks
Mm.
because it's not what the picture was, right?
Oh,
It doesn't represent it in the same way. And that is, in a sense, the power of pictures, but also in maybe shows, film, cinematography. People get awards for this
yeah.
stuff. The way that they have the camera, the way that they take risks. So for people who have read fantasy books or played video games and then they see the movie or the show, that kind of photography and cinematography, I have to agree, there's something fantastic about uh, elevating what we all see every day into something more spectacular.
Absolutely.
I think that's so cool. Okay, I don't know if I asked this already. What is your favorite thing to capture in a photo? If you had to pick like your thing, your favorite thing.
Um, Probably definitely related to like landscapes and scenery. That tends to be what I gravitate toward more than like people. I try to avoid people in most of my photographs
So
if I
do
can
I.
get kind of like a barren, wasteland shot. The only place that doesn't work is like in the city. You have to kind of embrace the crowds and whatnot. Yeah, like with portraits, only if it's like a candid shot, I do enjoy that. But mostly it's just kind of wandering off in nature. I love beaches. There's obviously a lot of material here on Long Island and just parks, nature preserves, that type of thing. So I like exploring the same places in different seasons and, some like a so-called landmarks, but just from a different angle so that it's not the standard that you've seen everywhere.
100%. That's awesome. Okay. This is an interesting question. Is there an actor or actress, in your opinion, that best encapsulates the art of fantasy in films or movies?
Um, yeah, I would say probably because I'm down a little bit of a rabbit hole with this particular actor at the moment, but I would say Johnny Depp. Um, Big fan of his work, but I would say particularly in the roles that he's played, where it's he's not playing a real life person, just creating this fantastical universe and just completely metamorphosing into those characters like a Willy Wonka or Mad Hatter or that type of thing, Sweeney Todd, even Edward Scissorhands, like that type of thing. It's like it's unrecognizable as the actor that and I just think between that and the cinematography and just the worlds that are created in these films, it's pretty incredible.
Is that why you said you're going down a rabbit hole because of Alice in Wonderland?
Sure,
I
that
don't
works.
know. I saw that movie and I thought it was great with him in it. I don't know. A lot of people said it was terrible or it just didn't reach the hype. I thought he was awesome in it. That's
Yeah, I
me.
mean, even I guess in films that maybe as a whole don't stand up, I feel like he's the best part of them, and definitely just what he does with the characters is admirable.
I have to agree. I think everyone would probably agree. What is um what is the Pirates of the Caribbean without Johnny Depp?
100%, yeah.
I mean, how every time there's a new movie, what do you think they're looking for? They're looking for him,
Hmm.
you know. So
Absolutely.
I don't know if he's going to be in the next one or if they're making the next one. I heard a lot of different things about it.
Yeah, I don't know. I would say if they do and he's not in it, it just won't be the same.
What's the point?
Yeah,
Really? Yeah,
if I were him, I would probably pass on it also at
me
this
too.
point. But
Yeah, he
yeah,
wasn't treated very well.
there's always something new to explore. So yeah, whatever he does, like I look forward to it because you just know it's going to be pretty amazing.
That is awesome. Yeah, all right, Johnny Depp. That was a good choice. All right, here we go. We're getting into the nitty gritty now. I asked this of everyone too. So, if you were in a fantasy book, game, film, what world would that be that you would choose to be in?
Um, Keeping with the same theme, I might do like Alice in Wonderland through the Looking Glass. Like I think that's a pretty awesome realm to exist in.
It's wacky.
It
There's
is.
a lot of wacky stuff going on in
It
there.
is. I remember actually like a live action version of it that was made when I was maybe like 4 or 5 that was on TV, and I was like obsessed with it. It was all these pretty well known actors and actresses in it, but like just from that point forward, every version of it that's come out, I think it's it's pretty fantastical. I've actually never read the book itself that it's based
I
on,
haven't either,
but
actually.
yeah, I love all the film adaptations of it.
That is great. All right, so you're in that world. You're in Wonderland, which could be terrifying at times. Um, so would you be a warrior, an archer, a sorcerer, or something else in that world? What would your role be? I mean, this is the most interesting one I've ever heard. This isn't like
In
the
that
Witcher
world,
world or the Harry Potter world, Lord of the
yeah.
Rings. This is Alice in Wonderland. So what would you be?
I mean, in theory, Alice, but she's none of those things.
Well, she's like
Yeah. She's the
she's
main.
us
Yes,
essentially.
yes. Yeah, I don't know. I would say from my limited experience playing like World of Warcraft back in the day, I was always like a mage or like sorcerer type thing. So that's probably like the type of character I would lean toward. But
You used to play World of
I
Warcraft?
did.
Oh my gosh. What was the character you said sorcerer?
I was a mage. Yeah.
That is so cool.
Yeah. Made it to like level 100 at whatever point that was years ago, and then I retired from that. But
Was
yeah,
that like a crazy world to be in?
it was
Was it like a
awesome. I
different
mean,
world?
honestly, like most people play for the game component, but for me, like I love just flying around on my, little mounts and just exploring like the landscapes because I thought it was so pretty. And when they did come out with the movie, like I thought it was amazing. I wanted to see how they were going to replicate that in cinema. So yeah, it was more about the visuals for me than the technical component of like actually knowing what I was doing and playing because I didn't. I just kind of like learned as I went and followed along. But
Wow.
yeah,
I've only seen people play the game. It's almost like you have to enter a cult of fantasy in that case.
yeah, a couple of people that I worked with played it, and I just kind of got sucked in, and I didn't even know how to maneuver things, or I had never played that kind of game before. But yeah, just the visual component of it and the storylines. I mean, it is a fantasy world for whatever.
Well, now you're out of that rabbit hole. To bring it back to where we started. All right. Before we end this, do you have any questions for me?
Um, I mean, I was curious how, like, why you thought this would be a good topic for your podcast, just in terms of the photography or like making that connection. Because I never thought of my photography in those terms before, of like them relating to fantasy at all. So
And that's why I did it. Because podcast is finding fantasy. Where do you find fantasy? In the books, in the games. But can you find fantasy in just our common lives and the things that we do? I'm not asking super fans, of fantasy. Um, I'm asking unique people. And you're a very unique person. You have a skill. And could fantasy be applied to that skill? And then we took almost a 180 in that you were in a deeper fantasy realm than I had expected. I didn't know you played World of Warcraft, so and up to level
breaking
100.
news.
Breaking news. You heard it here,
You heard it here.
folks, in Lindenhurst Library.
Yes.
All right. Well, I really have to thank you for doing this.
Thank
I had
you.
a really good time.
Really
Uh,
appreciate it.
I thought there'd be more people in the library, but I guess
It's a
it's a
Saturday.
library for
There
a
are
reason.
other things to do.
Yes, exactly.
They're finding fantasy out there. They're
They are.
looking
They're
for photo
finding
ops as
fantasy,
we speak.
but not with you. Not yet.
No, not yet.
She'll be out of here soon. Don't worry.
Yeah.
She's going to be taking pictures of
Yes.
everything real
More
soon.
photos coming.
See, you heard it here. So yes, Lindenhurst Library, they're celebrating 100 years, I think, of Lindenhurst, believe it or not.
I heard that. Yeah.
1923 to 2023. Imagine that.
Pretty cool.
Guys, I hope you had a good time. I'll see you in the next podcast. Bye bye.